Linda and Patty.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Oftentimes when you come to a service I'm doing, I have to warm up my being with some music. I hope that's okay. Is that good? Is that good? I see trees of green, red roses too. I see them bloom for me and you. And I think to myself, oh, what a wonderful world. I see skies of blue, clouds of white, the bright blessed day and the dark sacred night. Then I think to myself, whoa, what a wonderful world. The colors of the rainbow, so pretty in the sky, also on the faces of people passing by. I see friends shaking hands, saying, how do you do? They're really saying, I love you. I see babies cry, and I watch them grow. They learn much more than I will ever know. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. Colors of the rainbow, do you know this? So pretty in the sky, sing it with me. Also on the faces of the people passing by, I see friends shaking hands, saying, how do you do? They're really saying, come on, I love you guys. I see babies cry, sing with me. I'll watch them grow. They'll learn much more than I'll ever know. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. And I think to myself, you got this. You know, other speakers might have you do workshops. I make you sing, because if you can tell, it changes the vibration in the room when you put tone in this space. Can't you? Yes. I sure feel it. I love it. As a matter of fact, a lot of times I'll sing Silent Night during the holidays. And the very last time, cut out the music altogether, and no matter what my audience is, I'll have them sing that first verse again, or Amazing Grace for that matter. And there's this connectedness that begins to happen through the vibration and tone of music that fills the room with what I say velvet. Feels like velvet in the room, just because everybody's made this conscious choice to raise their voice. And so you did that today. And I'm feeding a little back. I'm feeding back a little bit. I'm sure you hear that. High mids, I think. Thank you for having me today again. I want to tell you that this has really been an important invitation for me to come and be a part of this community. And the reason you'll see me a little more often is, this maybe isn't an excuse. First of all, I sing a lot of weekends late into the night, but I also moved about 4 years ago, and it's a half-hour trip. And sometimes my Sunday morning is about looking my husband in the eye, because both of us go like this all week long. And having a cup of coffee and watching CBS Sunday Morning, which is my slant on politics and the world, makes me very happy. So somebody said, well, you know what? You've churched it up your whole life. If that's where God is for you, do it, you know. Anyway, so I still go sing at some other facilities, and mostly Unity, and an occasional Catholic Lutheran church I'm involved with too. But I get great joy when I'm in a community of people who are like-minded in the sense that, yeah, I don't mind how I was raised. I don't mind my religion or lack thereof. But something's calling me and pulling me to look for more answers so that my life is enriched, so that I can get more clearer on my gifts and bring my gifts out into the world. And that's why I love a community like this. So when you invited me to come and start speaking a good dozen years ago, longer probably, shortly after I got my minister's license, that I was invited to come, that meant a lot to me. In my desire to speak to people, I have to say thank you also to WCCO, where as a singer, all of a sudden I fell into that business doing talk radio. I've had the opportunity to look back on everything that I've done and see the culmination of the college I really never went to, but went to, the College of Life, that put me right here on this platform today talking to you. And so, for so many reasons, when I wake up, I might be tired. I might have a few things that make me kind of crabby. Might bug my sleep like it did last night, but guess what? I am grateful to be here, so thank you, first of all. That was a long-winded thank you to all of you and everybody here at Lake Harriet's. Thank you so much for having me. Music is a huge part of who I am. It's a huge part of who we are as a community. I heard what you just did. Everybody's good singers, by the way. Join up. Let's make a choir. What the heck? Patty, you just said you live a half an hour away. Anyway. But that's, you know, when we look at the phrase that community consciousness, there's one right there, music, right? And I came across so many things in my conversations with dear friends over the last few days, because sometimes, I don't know if you do this, but I do this. I segment my life in whatever is in front of me that I need to do. Right now, I do it. And it's like I know that I'm going to get to that, and it's almost like a book on a shelf, and bring that down, open it up, and then get feedback from people, my niece, my sister, my good friends, things that jumped out at me on social media. Excuse me, I'm coffee throat here. And I love that, because I worry. This is even after all these years, this is still a new venture for me to get up and chat and talk about a particular topic, and what does it mean to me, and what can I leave you with today? I guess gratitude is a pretty big one. I guess we could leave it. See you later. I always loved it when I sang at this church called Key to Life, and the minister would always go, okay, the song said it all, have a great Sunday. You know, so really sometimes it's just that succinct. But anyway, I wrote down some areas that meant a lot to me when I was having them jump out at me. And I'm going to just keep talking today. We'll do a meditation after, and then we'll do, you know, our prayer and collection. But I got a lot of music to do for you yet today, too. So, but here's, oh, you're so cute. Love you. Who watched the New York Yankees and Houston last night? Oh, yeah. Okay. In case you didn't know it, Houston is going to the World Series. 4-0 shutout, beat the Yankees. Why is that something I want to tell you about? Where were they 2 months ago, 3 months ago? Probably still now. Hurricane Harvey, devastation, loss. sadness. All of us as a community got together and said, how can we help? You may have been part of an organization. You might have done $10 to the Red Cross on your cell phone. That was a community conscious decision to help people who were in that position. And look what happened. Through the energetic rallying around them, they still put that foot forward. And they had a patch on their uniforms, those of you who didn't see it, Houston Strong or something like that. Vanessa, what did it say? It's just something like that. Anyway, so they set an intention in that community for the baseball fans, but I'm sure for everybody else, what joy it must have given them, that they were able to walk into that field, play baseball, win it, go to the World Series. Pretty cool. I don't know anything else about the team except that I was excited for them. I've done a lot of speaking in Houston, too. They have aortic symposiums every year. What's that? That's what I survived, was an aortic dissection. It's an aneurysm on your main heart, vessel that comes from your heart. And an aneurysm is something that grows. It's usually undetected, and it burst 10 years ago. Lucky to be here. Lucky to be here. Blessed. I have to take the challenge on that I'm here for a reason, and I do. So anyway, that popped out last night. It was the first thing on my sheet of paper. Let me tell you what else. I have a dear friend in the music industry. His name is Pat Mackin. Just an amazing, very grounded, buff sax player, honkin' sax player, writer, TC Jammers, Open Road, Mixed Drilling and the Stud Brothers, JB and the Routine. A few years ago, he was driving home. This guy who worked out, who helped start Vertical Endeavors, you know what that is, a climbing gym, okay, by Ice House in Minneapolis. He would come on radio with me and talk about the climbs that he was leading. He's climbed many mountains around the world. He married a police officer. She's just gorgeous and strong, about this big. And one night when he was coming home from his gig, he drove through fast food or something. And this girl in a brand new car, 20 years old, who had just gotten out of jail with no license, driving a car of her older friend, T-boned him at 70 miles an hour. Pat was dead at the scene, and they brought him back. We were devastated. I was at the hospital the next day. My husband always seems to be the one to get these calls when somebody is either in the family tragically hurt or on their last few days. And he's my buffer. Interesting. And so packed up my stuff with my friend and my brother and went down to the hospital. It was around the holidays. I didn't know what else to do. The beeps in the room. I'd been there, don't remember, myself, but sing. That's all I could do was somewhere in there to have him hear that voice that he played with when we were 18 and 19 years old. We remained friends forever. But it isn't just me. This community of police officers that came into the waiting room, they had to create this waiting room because everybody was so standing. This is the good side. You need to hear this. The police officers standing with their comrade. I better keep this story short for my own sake. Standing at the doorways, what do you need? Helping Janine. Just the energy of them and the strength in which they held a space. I'm going to say that word, space, in that room, in the hallways, in that, visiting outside of Pat's room, because at this point it was a pretty rotten case. Months later, he's in rehab. About a year later, he stands up on his own for me. 3 months later, he falls out of his wheelchair. He had a stroke. He can't speak. His right side of his body doesn't move. He's wheelchair bound for the rest of his life. He can't hold his sax. He'll never climb a mountain. But what it's given the opportunity for is this unbelievable musical community we have here in our Twin Cities to come together. A community consciousness that chooses to help out our fellow man. We had t-shirts made up. We didn't have them made up. One of the drummers in town made them up. What's your size? Here, wear it. Let's go to court. And every time this woman, this 20-year-old who definitely cleaned up her act, it's not pretty for her. She's now in the slammer after, she did not honor her first sentence from this accident, unfortunately. But we all met, and there were so many people, they said, you're taking up the whole courtroom. We held that space for our friend. As a community, consciously, we were going to stand by our friends from what this was. And as it went on, then there were benefits in his name. Last Thanksgiving, there was probably, the world of community of musical people here in the Twin Cities who came in town, who live here, did a huge benefit for him. And we all donated 3 days of our lives because we wanted to be there for him. So that to me is like a huge, I could dwell on that because I was just with them on Friday, and it's very present in my energy today as I move through how else I can hang out with them. We're going to all see David Sanborn on Sunday night. He's at that point where 3 years later he can at least go hear some unbelievable sax players. Another community conscious person was someone I was in a spiritual group with Kat Thompson, who some of you may have heard her speak too. Her name was Deidre. Deidre grew her own vegetables. The most organic gal I've ever met in my life. The sweetest, a healer, a lover, a Mother Earth energy. About this big too, just tiny. And unfortunately had stomach cancer and passed away. But guess what she started? You may have heard this, Water Legacy. In regard to the mining that's happening in Ely, which will affect the rivers, which will affect the wild rice crops, which will harm, obviously, the water, which will harm the families, the sustenance, the food. And so she had this vision. She even had a table at Bonnie Raitt's concert when Bonnie was over at the convention center 3-4 years ago. And she said, I wrote a letter. Do you think you could get it to Bonnie? Well, I know Bonnie, but I don't know her that well. So friend of a friend, oh yeah, we got it to her. She didn't say anything that night. They were looking for her to put her stamp on the fact that this was wrong, as Bonnie has done so often, and how she can change that community consciousness by aligning herself with a mission. If you don't know that, Bonnie Raitt has been really important with that kind of work. But as it turns out, as Deidre is getting closer to her death last fall, Bonnie is, I believe, at the state fair, and she gives a big shout out to Water Legacy. And the last communication I had with Deidre was, she's behind you. She shouted out to you guys. I just need you to know that. And of course, her response was very positive, and that was the end of our communication before she passed. So, how does that pertain to you? Well, I don't know about you, but I know that I want to live in a community that everybody is rather like-minded, and the objects in which fill my life, my house, my schools, my roads, don't cut those trees down. Do cut those trees down. Leave me my nature. Let's leave the animals alone, etc. I want to be part of a community like that. How about you guys? I mean, obviously, look where we are. Yes, of course you do. You're in the vortex of Minneapolis, where good things happen. Good comes upon this area geographically. So that's one way, and we all kind of can have this voice where we want to change the materials around us. You study community consciousness. There's actual findings about seven. Seven's like a big number when it comes to self-help or helping a community. 7 steps in which we want to show up and be part of a community. And forgive me, but I did not write down the name of the study. It's a few years old. But communities have 7 well-defined developmental levels of consciousness. So somebody with some experience wrote this. Each level focuses on a particular existential need common to all form of human group structures. The 7 existential needs are the principal motivating forces in all human affairs. Survival is the first. Relationships, friendships, healthy communities, sense of belonging, that's the second. Self-esteem is the third. This level addresses the community's need for efficient performance. Healthy communities are orderly, regulated, law-abiding. These are all, they kind of all fall in the material aspect of things. So this is where science comes in, and where consciousness comes in is coming up in number 4, the transformation. If you consciously hold an idea in your head of what you like to see happen, we all know through the study of the law of attraction that if you hold that vibration and you see it, you believe it, like Wayne Dyer said. And if you believe it, you will see it. It's the filter you choose to get up every day and have within your being. Grateful, that's me. Compassion is my favorite word. Anyway, this says this level focuses on giving members of the community an opportunity to participate in decision-making in this transformation. They encourage members to be responsible, focus on their goals. Then there's this internal cohesion that goes on. You feel it when you're here, too. It concerns the creation of the collective group identity, no matter what group we're in, music, church affiliation. There's a focus on learning opportunities and entrepreneurship within the communities. Fairness, adaptability, accountability, self-reliance. Number 5 is internal cohesion, or I said that healthy communities have a positive spirit, okay? Sense of direction and above all, optimism. Level of consciousness includes values such as enthusiasm, integrity, fun, fairness, trust, and dedication. Making a difference, that's number 6. Making a difference. You all know about that in this community. This level focuses on the deepening of the internal connectedness within the community and the creation of the community's care. Service. This level focuses on further deepening an internal connectedness with the community and expansion of external connectedness with communities and society. This kind of stuff has been studied, and it's been out there. And yes, we can feel the spiritual aspect of a teaching like that, simply because that's how our mind goes. I'm putting you in my group of studying and choosing to find deeper meanings to things. And then you look at something like, now how would Deepak explain this? And he's always available for an interview here or there, and I looked at a couple of them last night. And one of them talked a lot about how when we're in a community and we're going to school and we're in our politics and we're in our neighborhoods, that we have that mindset of, gee, I would love this material thing to be this way or that way. But what they address is something that is never addressed within school. Sometimes in life. I mean, we try to do golden rule in life. We try to. We try to teach it. We try to hand it to our children, speak with our peers with it. The vast majority of scientists and other so-called thought leaders have not diligently explored the possibility that matter is actually an experience we are having in consciousness, not unlike the objects that populate dreams, which are mind-made. Okay, so what they're talking about, of course, in depth is the quantum physics and the fact that through the smallest atom we are all connected. We just have a different intelligence, which is why we're people. That if you want to manifest, you have to go to the conscious reality of what does the focus, my energy, my prayers, if this is how you prefer to say it, my meditation, my pulling in the energy of someone, sending them out love and light, whatever your practice is, what you're envisioning for your life as you see it comes from a thought. Have you heard the phrase thoughts are things? I'm sure you have. There's a great deal of study about little tiny booklet, thoughts are things. Because with a thought, like you look at a kid who wants to ride a bike or play an instrument, how fast do they learn how to do it? They hold that thought in their brains and they envision what it's going to take for them to master that. And they do it. Isn't that cool? So, when you're in your space of practice, when you're walking, whatever it is, whatever you do to visualize, how you want to show up, how you want your community to be, how you want your life to be consciously, you take what that is through our consciousness and help yourself move forward within that time and space to create and manifest or help with your talents and your gifts in your community what it is you envision. And I'll tell you what, if you believe in that purpose, you will not let it go. You might be, oh, gee, okay, sorry, it didn't work this time. Yeah, maybe it didn't work this time. But if that's still here for you, if that is still in here, recognize that the attachment to the outcome of the time in which you want it to happen, if it doesn't happen then, that doesn't mean the universe isn't going to support it at a more appropriate time. Now, does that make sense to you? Having an attachment to an outcome, whether it's a relationship or something you want to have in your community or a career, you have to respect the fact that there is a time and a place for the universe to support what it is you're called in this lifetime to go do. And one of the biggest things that I talk about in Live Your Gift is you don't bury that message inside of you. That wrong that needs to be righted, that dream that needs to be manifested. Don't bury it. That becomes a part of your shadow self, and that's a whole nother talk. That's the shadow manifesting that I have talked about with Debbie Ford in the past. She was a great teacher for me. But it also will find its way out in other ways. What you're going to see that if you have that conversation, the thing about becoming an adult, I think, is that we forget. We forget that it's okay to hold that vision like the 7-year-old, the 5-year-old, or my grandson who's 2 learn how to ride a bike. This guy's scary. Anyway, hold that vision in your head. They manifest it. Well, guess what? We're kids too. We can do that too. There's absolutely no reason why we don't have to do that too. Because, I mean, where's the fun in life? Come on. Oh, I can see, listen, I'm going to have a birthday pretty soon. In my lower part of my 60s, I still see myself doing things, letting go of some things, and embracing more. Because as I get older, you know what I'm realizing? My energy isn't what it used to be as a kid. For me to have all of these things that I love to do, I don't do a good job of spacing them out, and I'm tired, so I lose sight of what it is I want to do. Does anybody go through that too? Okay, so maybe I've gone to the extreme with the attachment to the outcome, going, oh yeah, it's going to happen. No, you got to put effort behind it. Come on. We all have to put effort behind it. So what happens for me when I hear this is who we want to be on our planet. And I think about some of the agreements that we make with ourselves and with our communities. And it's kind of funny where, pardon me, like I mentioned, I had some things happen with the last couple of days. One of them was my girlfriend had bought a winery, and in the last 6 months totally revamped it, redid it, cleaned up the land. The grapes were getting harvested, is that what you say? And the day she was going to put it on the market for VRBO, for people to go out and have a respite, the fires came. 6 months, blood, sweat, and tears. She's almost 70. And and her mother died during the process. Her sister has cancer. There's something like this floaty thing that she was going through. And she just said, you know what? It didn't get to my house. It burned my trees. It burned my vines. My house is there. My cottage is there. The barn is there. And you know what? Somebody who lived and worked his whole life for the house of his dreams, whose house burned down, is renting my house. because it's there. So her idea to be able to give back makes her feel valuable. Anytime we can do that in our communities, take that with you. Take that essence and that sense of value with you. That's why we're here. We're here for one another. You know, Gandhi said, be the change you wish to see in the world. That means shut your television off. Don't listen to the news. It'll catch up with you. If you need to know something, you'll know about it. The other day, Thursday, World Peace. I get unity every day. It's easy to be overwhelmed by the conflicts in the world, and my peace work begins when I ask, is there conflict in my heart? This is how it begins with you and me. Are there friends or family I've shut outside of my heart? People with beliefs different than my own who see me as an enemy. It's not fun. But rather than move so fast that you don't address that, this is a good one. Holding bitter feelings of anger, pain, and distrust blocks the flow of peace through me. Essentially, in community consciousness, that's what we want to be. Blessed are the peacemakers. They shall see the kingdom of God. What is the kingdom of God? It's right here. It's right here. It's what we create. It's what we make. I focus on the connection as I invite divine love to activate the release of any feelings that are blocking my peace. My prayers radiate then to all of those around me, my country, and the world. And then there's Charles Fillmore, who talks about guidance in these situations and the wisdom, praying for the wisdom and the guidance. You all have something that you want to do within your community. And don't wait. You'll be really interested to see this. It's like an experiment in personal behavior. And as I changed over the last 25 years, I've been a spiritual seeker. As a matter of fact, I still will go to Catholic Church. I love it. There's a tradition, a ritual is the word I'm looking for, that makes me feel at home, especially when we go and we hold the space when Linda and I go, like last Sunday. Because we always went with our family, with our mom, who we miss so much. And you can show up in the world and be part of so many things. This priest last week, he is a blessing. Oh my gosh. We got to have a Sisters Week last week and in Florida. And he really talked about, this is not a dress rehearsal. You don't get to, in his mind, come back and do this again. He said something so interesting. My takeaway from that whole talk was, if you don't want to get into a situation because it's messy, how do you think you're going to make it change? And he said at the end of his talk, get out there and make a mess. And then try to help and fix it. I loved him. And plus he could sing. Right? And I'll tell you what, I started to go through changes where the typical 40s where, I started singing in some other states, and it was the first time I was without my kids, and I was alone because I helped raise my younger brothers. The point is, I really needed to get the courage and the wisdom to go out and do these things, and I was super nervous to get out there and do them, but that's how we change. That's how we do it, is we put ourselves out there, make a little bit of a mess, and then just see what's still there. Make that change. That's basically it. I remember wearing my t-shirt back in that day. Came from the Body Shop. I loved the Body Shop. It was great fragrances and lotions and whatever. Now I'm into doTERRA, so. Anyway, and the dress and the shirt said, life is not a dress rehearsal. So in other words, go out there and do it. It's a cute way of saying the Nike slogan. Just do it. Just do it. I think what's important about this is that you walked in this door today, you are attracted to what's going on here. There is an exploration and a depth that happens within these walls. And it happens on a continual basis, like, she said every single day there is something super cool happening in this historic, by the way, building. So beautiful here. And so you have a place to come. If you need to ground, it's here. But it's also here. Your gifts are here. And I guarantee you, when you sit with them, you're going to remember what they are. You may have felt like you needed to put them under the rug for your boss, your relationship, your children, your family, this, that. Your gifts are there. Reacquaint yourself with them again. And I say that to you because the best relationship that comes out of remembering your gifts and living your gifts is the relationship with yourself, your authentic self. That whole self, the bright and the dark. And walk through your life knowing this is me. And the universe is going to support me energetically as I manifest what it is that I'm envisioning for my community, therefore my life, therefore the world. 4 agreements. You all know this. Be impeccable with your word. Speak with integrity. Say only what you mean. Avoid using the word to speak against yourself or to gossip about others. Use the power of the word in direction of truth and love. Don't take anything personally. Nothing others do is because of you. You're so vain, you probably think this song is about you. God, I love that line. Wasn't that great? What others say and do is a projection of their own reality, their own dream. You can walk into a situation, you've all studied enough where there is just going on in whatever that person you're with is experiencing or that family, and you can clearly recognize after a period of time, oh, this is not about me. And it becomes more clear inside. When you are immune to the opinions and actions of others, you won't be the victim of needless suffering. Love that. Attachment to the outcome, blah, blah, blah. What's my role in this? Maybe nothing. Don't make assumptions. Find the courage to ask questions and express what you really want. Communicate with others as clearly as you can to avoid misunderstandings, sadness, and drama. And with this just one agreement, you can completely transform your life. That agreement was don't make assumptions. And then the last one is always do your best. Your best is going to change from moment to moment. It's going to be different when you're as healthy as opposed to sick. Any circumstance, simply do your best, and you're going to avoid self-judgment, self-abuse, and regret. I might have to post that on my fridge right there. So with that, community consciousness. Do you get an idea of who you are, the beauty and the wisdom of who you are as a soul on this journey? How you can affect not only your own life, but the lives of those around you. Can you understand how that all works with the energy flow? You know, those of you who are new, I might be talking over your head. But the truth is, it's even the power of prayer. I want to send that prayer out. And you rely on God, the universe, to work on that prayer. You don't doubt the energy. Don't doubt it. Keep praying. It's like God or the universe isn't doing their work. Put it out there. Love, bless, release, and trust. Live your gifts and recognize. And as you do this and life changes for you, you'll see friends change, circumstances change. And it's as though stars are twinkling in the sky and things become brighter. And as they approach you, you'll know that that's the next right thing to do. You know what I mean, symbolically? That's the way I have to think about things in my life. And it helps. And back to my thanks to all of you. One of the things I wanted to do was get up and talk to people. And it started with my studying of Deepak and Marianne Williamson and Wayne Dyer and so many other people, in addition to all the work I did with alternative medicine. And had the courage to say, hey, can I work here? I know I have some valuable information. And I held that thought. And it didn't manifest right away, and I got discouraged. Doggone it, 5 months later, I got a call to come and sub. And I'd never done radio before. Intention and desire, attachment to the outcome, law of attraction. These are all things that if you think long enough, you'll see how they've manifested in your life. Before I get into a little meditation, which today is going to be just a song, but you can just sit in your chair as we do it, I'm going to leave you in my talk with something called the senility prayer. My mother used to have this on her fridge. God, grant me the senility to forget the people I never liked anyway, the good fortune to run into the ones I do, and the eyesight to tell the difference. Amen. Thank you. Just to imagine. Okay. Now, there's a time where people would do a meditation first and then go into the talk, and then everybody's elevated. But I think this song speaks for itself. Thank you, Marion. And so if you feel like getting grounded, if you feel like meditating through these words, because they're super impactful, if you feel like shutting your eyes and just absorbing or going somewhere else where you need to think, do that while I sing this, okay? Imagine no heaven. It's easy, just try. No hell below us. And look above, it's only sky. And then imagine all people living for today. Imagine no countries. It isn't hard to do. Nothing to kill or to die for. No religion too. And then imagine all people living life in peace. Oh, you may say I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. I know someday they will join us. A world will be as one. Imagine no possessions. I wonder if you can. No need for greed or hunger, just a brotherhood of man. And then imagine all people sharing in one world. Oh, you may say I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. I know someday they will join us, and this world will live as one, as one, as one. Imagine. Thank you. Yeah, Linda, that was beautiful. I got one that I just did a show for Burt Bacharach, and I love this song. What the world needs now. Sing. If love, sweet love, it's the only thing that there's just too little love. What the world needs now is love, sweet love. No, not just for some, but for everyone. Oh, Lord, we don't need another mountain. There are mountains and hillsides enough to climb. There are oceans and rivers enough to cross, enough to last until the end of time. What the world needs now, it's the only thing that there's just too little of. What the world needs now is love, sweet love. No, not just for some, but for everyone. Lord, we don't need another meadow. There are cornfields and wheat fields enough to grow. There are sunbeams and moonbeams enough to shine. Oh, listen, Lord, if you want to know what the world needs now, sing it! Oh, yeah, it's the only thing that there's just too little of. What the world needs now. Oh, no, not just for some, but for everyone. Everyone. What the world needs now is love, sweet love. It's the only thing that there's just too little. Feel it. What the world needs now is love, sweet love. No, not just for some, but for everyone, everyone. See what I mean? When your voices fill a room, isn't that cool? You're so good. I love it. That was... Let's do it fast. Sometimes in our life, we all have pain, we all have sorrow, but if we are wise, we know that there's always tomorrow. Lean on me when you're not strong, and I'll be your friend. I'll help you carry on, for it won't be long till I'm gonna need somebody to lean on. Please swallow your pride if I have the things you need to borrow, for no one can fill those of your needs that you won't let show. You just call on my brother if you need a hand. We all need somebody to lean. Sing harmony if you know it. I just might have a problem that you'll understand. We all need somebody to lean on. Lean on me when you're not strong, and I'll be your friend. I'll help you carry on. Very good. So I'm gonna need somebody to lean on. You just call when you need a hand. We all need somebody to lean on. I just might. Hey, we all need somebody to lean on. If there is a load that you have to bear, that you can't carry, oh, I'm right up the road, and I'll share your load if you just call me. You just call me. You just. All right, you guys see the interconnectedness right now? You're holding hands. This is community consciousness. Go out, have a wonderful day. It's gorgeous. Woo! Thank you.